Hey there, thanks for joining us. Today we will be discussing the economic consequences of Scotland leaving the UK. Now, most of us are aware of the referendum that took place in Scotland, a vote deciding whether or not Scotland would stay part of the UK. The vote was a frightening awakening to the UK, Europe, and the rest of the world that a seemingly harmless action such as Scotland leaving the UK could have such an impact on the rest of the world. Today we will be exploring the economic and political ramifications that would have resulted from Scottish independence. When the UK was formed in 1707, a union was established that gave Scotland free trade with England and her possessions overseas, while giving England Scotland's natural resources. The realm prospered, becoming one of the strongest nations in the world. The newly created United Kingdom was able to expand to almost all corners of the globe, and its economy would be the strongest for the next 200 years. The British pound was at one point the world's reserve currency, and the UK became one of the strongest nations within the European Union. However, all of this was threatened by the Scottish referendum. Ah yes, the impending downfall of the UK. Now, here we have Chu Michael, who will elaborate on the economic consequences of Scottish independence on the UK's economy. Thanks, Michael Chu. Many problems would have been caused by Scottish independence. One of the biggest issues that would have arisen from Scottish independence is the depreciation of the British pound. The British pound, one of the most commonly used reserve currencies in the world, slumped more than 1% after an opinion poll showed that Scottish independence was being favored over a united UK. This uncertainty over the possibility of independence being achieved has caused many investors worldwide to slash holdings of the pound. Bracing themselves for a possible economic collapse, foreign exchange traders have started to dump the currency, resulting in the currency depreciation. Demand of the pound is falling as investors are trying to sell their holdings, resulting in the fall of the pound's value. This diagram shows how demand for the British pound would fall as prices continue to decrease. The demand curve would shift to the left due to changes in consumer preferences. As you can see here, before the Scottish threatened independence, we have the demand for the British pound shown on this simple demand graph. At price level equilibrium 1 and quantity demanded equilibrium 1, we have point A, where the dollar value and the quantity demanded for the British pound are at equilibrium. However, as prices start to decrease due to Scottish independence, making investors suspicious of possible devaluation of the British pound, price levels start to decrease, causing quantity demanded for the British pound to decrease as well. Overall, this causes the demand curve to shift to the left. And we have a new equilibrium point, B. Usually, foreign exchange traders would keep an eye out for opportunities to start investing in the pound once the economy stabilizes. However, as the effects of Scottish independence on the UK economy would still be uncertain, investors wouldn't invest, causing the pound to continue to drop even further. The pound against the US dollar dropped 6% from 1.71 to 1.61 during this period of uncertainty when Scotland seemed like it would become an independent nation around July to September, greatly hurting the economy, and with exchange rates being a determinant of AD, causing an inflationary gap. Thanks, Chu, for that enlightening lecture. But I'm still confused over one thing. You mentioned an inflationary gap. I'm lost. What does that exactly mean? Ah yes, thanks for asking. So here I've drawn out a simple ASAD graph of the British economy, represented by the price level on the y-axis and RGDP on the x-axis. RGDP stands for real GDP, or the amount of goods that will be produced in the British economy in a given year. We also have a long-run aggregate supply curve, a short-run aggregate supply curve, and an aggregate demand curve. So as I said before, the threat of Scottish independence would cause investors to stop investing in the British pound. Thus, the price level and the quantity demanded of the pound will decrease, and in the process, increase net exports. Net exports will increase because as the exchange rate of the pound falls, as it did when the referendum date drew near, foreign investors are able to purchase more British goods, causing British imports to increase. Net exports thus increase, and since net exports is a determinant of aggregate demand shifts to the right. This causes an inflationary gap, y1 to y2, as the aggregate demand of the economy is more than equilibrium and is producing at an unstable amount. This demand pull inflation would also cause unemployment levels to fall. In the short run, falling unemployment may seem beneficial, but when a country is already producing at its full potential, any rate higher than the natural rate of production would be highly inflationary. This rapid rise in inflation would cause real GDP to fall, as income won't rise with rises in price level, reducing the standards of living of the people in the nation and thus hurting the economy. The depreciation of the British pound caused by Scottish independence would hurt the economy in the long run. So Michael, thank you for your good explanation, but what does this all mean for the UK and possibly the rest of Europe? If Scotland were in fact to become an independent nation, would the UK fall to tatters? Would the EU just fall apart? Please elaborate. If Scotland were to leave the UK, investors, even more uncertain about the stability of the UK economy, would further slash their holdings of UK investments. The UK would thus go into a period of high inflation. Possible solutions to this inflation lie in contractionary fiscal policies. The UK Parliament would have to raise taxes and lower government spending so that the economy would return to a period of equilibrium. Also, the removal of the portion of the UK's population would cause aggregate demand to drastically decrease. Since these people make up a portion of the UK's GDP, the sudden removal of their contributions to the economy would cause GDP to decrease. The economy would take a long time to recover, as Scotland makes up 12% of its total GDP. As you can see in this graph, aggregate demand shifts left due to the sudden decrease of their contributions to the UK economy. Also, in this GDP versus time graph, the GDP would drastically decrease when Scotland moves itself from the UK's economy. Here, the UK economy was steadily increasing, but once the large portion of their contributions to the economy leave the UK economy, the UK's GDP would drastically decrease, and slowly, over time, would have to increase again. In short, Scottish independence would drastically reduce the economic power of the UK. Most importantly, the British pound would depreciate, causing price levels to rise due to demand pull inflation. As a result, standards of living and the size of the UK's GDP would fall. Politically, the UK would lose power in the EU, and may even leave, possibly throwing the European Union into chaos. Scotland must stay a part of the UK to keep either country from falling into political and economic chaos. Thanks, Michael, for explaining to us the effects of Scottish independence on the UK and possibly even the EU. That's all we have today, folks. Till next time.